A common enemy, a time of alliance, World War II. The United States and Russia, despite their vastly different ideologies, found themselves on the same side during World War II. This unlikely partnership was forged in the fires of global conflict. This alliance was one of necessity, driven by the urgent need to defeat a common and formidable enemy. Both nations faced a common enemy in Nazi Germany, whose aggressive expansion threatened the entire world. The US and the Soviet Union cooperated militarily and strategically, setting aside their differences for the greater good. This cooperation was crucial to defeating Hitler's forces, leading to significant victories on multiple fronts. The US provided Lend-Lease aid to the Soviet Union, a program that was vital for sustaining the Soviet war effort. This aid included weapons, food, and other essential supplies, ensuring that the Soviet forces could continue their fight. The Soviets, on the other hand, tied down a significant portion of the German army on the Eastern Front, enduring immense hardships. This joint effort ultimately paved the way for Allied victory in 1945, marking the end of one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. The shared experience of World War II created a brief but significant period of cooperation between the two future superpowers, fostering a sense of camaraderie. The collaboration during World War II demonstrated that the US and Russia could work together towards a common goal, despite their differences. However, this wartime alliance was short-lived, as the underlying tensions soon resurfaced. Deep-seated mistrust and ideological differences lingered beneath the surface, even during their cooperation. The seeds of a new conflict, the Cold War, were sown even before the end of World War II, as both nations began to prepare for a post-war world. While the US and Soviet Union celebrated victory together, cracks were already appearing in their alliance, hinting at future discord. Differing visions for the post-war world set the stage for decades of rivalry and mistrust, leading to the division of Europe and the start of the Cold War. The wartime alliance, though born out of necessity, would soon give way to a new era of geopolitical competition, shaping the second half of the 20th century. The wartime alliance between the United States and the Soviet Union began to unravel soon after the defeat of Nazi Germany. The two superpowers, with their vastly different ideologies and ambitions, found themselves locked in a struggle for global influence. This struggle became known as the Cold War. The US emerged from World War II as a global superpower, with a booming economy and a powerful military. The Soviet Union, though heavily damaged by the war, had a massive army and a desire to expand its influence in Eastern Europe. These competing interests led to suspicion and mistrust. The Yalta Conference, held in February 1945, attempted to shape the post-war world. However, disagreements over the future of Eastern Europe sowed the seeds of discord. The Soviet Union, determined to create a buffer zone against future invasions, installed communist regimes in the countries it occupied. The US, fearing the spread of communism, adopted a policy of containment. This policy aimed to prevent the further expansion of Soviet influence. The Cold War was a global struggle, playing out on multiple fronts. It encompassed political, economic, and ideological competition, as well as a nuclear arms race that threatened the world with annihilation. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, a confrontation that could have altered the course of history forever. It remains a stark reminder of the dangers of the Cold War, a period marked by intense rivalry and the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation. The crisis began when the Soviet Union, led by Nikita Khrushchev, placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, escalating tensions to unprecedented levels. The US, under President John F. Kennedy, viewed this as a grave threat to its security and sovereignty, prompting immediate and decisive action. Kennedy imposed a naval blockade on Cuba, demanding the removal of the missiles, a move that brought the two superpowers to a dangerous standoff. For 13 tense days, the world watched and waited as the two superpowers stood on the precipice of nuclear war, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Through a combination of diplomacy and brinkmanship, a solution was reached, averting what could have been a catastrophic conflict. The Soviet Union agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba, a decision that helped de-escalate the immediate crisis. In return, the US secretly agreed to remove its Jupiter missiles from Turkey, a concession that was kept out of the public eye at the time. The Cuban Missile Crisis had a profound impact on US-Soviet relations, highlighting the need for better communication and understanding. The crisis led to the establishment of a direct hotline between Washington and Moscow, a crucial step in preventing future misunderstandings. This hotline was designed to prevent future misunderstandings and to ensure that leaders could communicate directly in times of crisis. It also highlighted the need for arms control agreements, leading to several important treaties aimed at reducing the nuclear threat. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief as the immediate danger passed, but the lessons of the crisis would not be forgotten. However, the Cuban Missile Crisis served as a chilling reminder of the fragility of peace in the nuclear age, underscoring the importance of vigilance and diplomacy. The Cold War rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union extended beyond Earth and into the realm of space. The space race, as it came to be known, was a competition for technological supremacy. It captured the imagination of the world and fueled rapid advancements in rocketry, space exploration, and scientific research. The Soviet Union struck the first blow in 1957 with the launch of Sputnik, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. This achievement shocked the US and ignited a fierce competition. The US responded by creating NASA and pouring resources into its own space program. Both countries achieved significant milestones. The Soviets sent the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into space in 1961. The US, however, ultimately won the race to the moon when Neil Armstrong took his one small step in 1969. The space race had a profound impact on both nations. It spurred technological innovation, leading to advancements in fields such as computing, material science, and telecommunications. It also had a significant cultural impact, inspiring generations of scientists, engineers, and dreamers. The space race demonstrated the power of human ingenuity, even in the midst of Cold War rivalry. Section 5. A thaw in the cold Gorbachev, Reagan, and the end of an era. The 1980s witnessed a significant thaw in the Cold War, thanks in part to the visionary leadership of US President Ronald Reagan and Soviet Premier Mikhail Gorbachev. Their willingness to engage in dialogue and diplomacy marked a turning point in international relations. Gorbachev, who came to power in 1985, implemented groundbreaking reforms such as glasnost, or openness, and perestroika, or restructuring. These policies aimed to modernize the Soviet Union and make it more transparent. These reforms aimed to address the Soviet Union's deep-rooted economic stagnation and political repression, which had plagued the nation for decades. Reagan, known for his staunch anti-communism stance, surprised the world by engaging with Gorbachev. His pragmatic approach helped bridge the ideological divide. The two leaders held a series of historic summits, culminating in the signing of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty in 1987. This landmark agreement was a major step towards nuclear disarmament. This treaty eliminated an entire class of nuclear weapons, significantly reducing the threat of nuclear war. Reagan's famous challenge to Gorbachev, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," became a powerful symbol of the desire for freedom and change. This resonated deeply with the growing desire for freedom in Eastern Europe, inspiring movements that would eventually lead to monumental changes. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, symbolizing the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe and the end of an era of division. The Soviet Union itself dissolved in 1991, marking the definitive end of the Cold War and the beginning of a new geopolitical landscape. The end of the Cold War brought hope for a new era of peace and cooperation as former adversaries began to work together. The US emerged as the sole superpower, but faced new challenges in a rapidly changing world, including the need to navigate a complex international landscape. The collapse of the Soviet Union had profound implications for global security, politics, and economics, reshaping the world order in ways that are still felt today.